Hi everybody! I'm using a new camera, so that's why it's taking, it's a little bit weird. That's why I got weird at the beginning there. Welcome to the Soil Spinach Homesteading Show. That's what I'm going to call it. This is official Soil Spinach Homesteading Show. I know nobody else has that name, so let's get at it. Today I wanted to talk to you about sourdough. Again, I made my starter, but it's like I missed the peak of where I should be making sourdough, and now I'm left with something that's less than ideal. It's not frothy, it's not very bubbly, so I know it's active, but it's not as active as I want it to be to make a really good, fluffy, puffy sourdough bread. So today we're going to make something that I call, I don't know if it's the right term, but that's what I call it. It's a sponge. So it's basically just a very wet version of your bread. Basically, at the end of this, you're just going to have to, like the next step after that is just actually adding some more flour and forming your loaves for like the first rise, and then kneading, and then rising again. So this is just a very I don't know what I was going to say. So it's a really good way of revitalizing a starter that isn't ideal. What the microbial action needs at this moment is more food to eat. Right now it's consumed everything in the glass jar, which is why it's not rising and fluffy anymore and with lots of bubbles. It smells like sourdough. It looks like sourdough. If I taste it, it tastes a little bit sour. So I know it's active, but it's not ideal. So we're going to make it ideal. And what we're going to use today, I have this morning's dried up oats and the same brown or whole wheat flour and white flour that I used this last time. I'm just using this morning's old dried up oats because I hate wasting food, and some people I guess even call this a porridge bread. It has an actual term, not just Rachel being cheap. So I just put the porridge in there, the oats in there. There's different kinds of flaked oats like spelt and wheat and rye, and just a whole bunch of good stuff, and chia seeds. And then, so, okay, I'm going to put most of my starter in it. So there's still some left, well, clinging to the sides. That's plenty to start the next starter, which we're going to do after. And just mix that up. So in this case, I've used this bowl before for sourdough bread, and this fork, I'm assuming, is stainless. Basically, you just don't want to use iron, because iron reacts with acidity and can really, I don't know what the term's called, deteriorate and get into the bread. So if you use stainless or chrome-like, you should be fine. I've used these bowls multiple times before to raise my bread in, so, and this is making the sponge. So I know it's not gonna react. So I've got like a really gooey mess in there, which could work for the sponge, but I want to get closer to what my final bread is going to be. So I'm adding some more whole wheat. And as you can notice, I don't use measures because I think that makes it complicated. I know there's this baker's proportions, but I never figured it out. And I think it makes it complicated. And the more complicated it is, the less likely you are to do it. If it's complicated any, I ain't doing it. So I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. And it works out. So, I mean, you're working with microbes. I know what the microbes want. They want more food so they can rise again and make me some awesome bread. So if I know that, and I know the kind of the texture that I want, it'll all turn out all right. So, yeah, I'll get closer to show you the texture that I'm looking at. Can you see that? It's like super gooey. They'll be able to hold a bubble really well. And it'll be perfect for making bread. Probably at this point, I don't want to go again into the less than ideal sourdough stage, which is when it's really bubbly and frothy. And so this is probably going to become a bread tonight or tomorrow. We'll see. I'll invite you to come with me anyways. So when I see that it's becoming like twice or 3 times its size, then I'm going to jump on it and make my bread. So yeah, that's a sponge, or that's what I call a sponge. I don't know what it is. Some professional sourdough people might look at me and call me crazy, but you know what? I've been making delicious bread for a long time, and I've never had a problem with it. So if those professional sourdough people tell you that I'm wrong and whatever, well, they might be right. But it's working for me. I am not a professional at all. I'm just a mom that wants to keep the bread monsters happy in my family. So now we're going to restart the starter. I'm just going to rinse this off. Also, I don't put any salt in this because I want it to be really, really, really active. I'm just going to be putting salt for my bread when I actually make the bread. At this point, it's a sponge. I want it to explode with activity, microbes, and awesome bubbly gooiness. So, no salt at this point because I want it super active. And now starter. A little bit of starter goes a long way. So right now I just have like a very, very small amount. But you know what? Sourdough is incredibly perseverant, and literally dried out sourdough just on the side of a jar, if it's rehydrated, can become active again. So if you're looking at your sad looking starter that you haven't touched in 3 weeks and there's like black liquid and whatever, well, no, that's a little bit too far. But if you want to start completely over and you just have like a tiny crust at the side of your jar that is looking kind of all right, take that tiny crust and use it to start a little tiny starter that you can build up again with time and with more attention than you gave it before. So this starter, last time I made it a little bit too runny. I won't be doing that this time. What you want to look for in a starter is something that can hold a bubble. So if you think of that holding a bubble, you'll be alright. Kind of like maybe a pancake consistency. I'm giving them advertising, whatever. I like them. So yeah, something that can hold a bubble. This time I'll get the texture better than last time. Last time was just to get you started on making a starter. Like, Seriously, that is the hardest thing to do, is just getting started. You start, you fail, you eat your failures, start over, get over it. It's just bread after all. And I've been seeing this, like I was looking at sourdough starters on Instagram and people name them. What is that? Apparently it's for good luck or something. I think that's just weird. That's okay. If you do it, go right ahead. I just don't want to eat something that has a name. So, well, with that in mind, I should be vegan, shouldn't I? We don't eat much animal, but we do eat some, so I shouldn't be such a hypocrite. Okay, I'll show you the texture. Pretty much the same as the sponge. Maybe a little bit looser. Can you see that? Okay, look. Yeah, that'll hold a bubble for sure. That's that. Stop complicating. Start experimenting. Sorry for the mess. 2 kids sleeping at the same time. I'm taking advantage of it. Okay, talk to you later. Bye. Thanks for being on the Soil Spinach Homesteading Show.